Yeah.
2 for 1.
If you had any idea what was going on backstage just now, you probably never watched
um,
the show again.
that was an entirely different show.
Yes, for an entire different audience. What's up, James? James is always here super early, always making us feel like we're doing something good with our lives. Thank you, James.
It reminds me of when Mr. Goodvine used to show up for his shout out. He hasn't been here for a long time.
I
I've
don't
been holding
even
back those shout outs.
I don't even know if he's like I don't think he's
He
I don't
doesn't do
know.
social media anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't
He
think
got
so.
off a ways back, and I think he was like, for sure, and he's been serious about it. I think he's just like, nope, not doing it anymore.
Can't even hate that. Can't even hate that. Good for
No,
him.
not really.
Good for him. Hold on. Let me it's not a bad one. Oh no, you know what? I can't. I got a special request dad joke, so I have to do that. I won't do that right now, but I'll do it in a second. But welcome everyone to episode 232. Sarah Bees is also here on time. Welcome in, Sarah Bees. Welcome in. Sarah Bees is a regular over there on my streams when I be streaming the games. So me and him have gone back and forth quite a bit. We share the love of a similar franchise. So, have you guys had the new strawberries and cream Dr Pepper? Have you guys had that? It's fantastic.
I still haven't. I
You gotta
probably
have it, man. You
I
gotta have it.
probably could have when I was out buying stuff at the store a day or so ago, because I did a Spirits Club episode for the future that was about mixing.
What'd you mix?
The new Glenmorangie X, which is made for mixing. It's a Scotch that's designed to be mixed with other things, and I got it with some cherry Coke and some cream soda and some juice, and I went pretty
Nice.
crazy with it. I was feeling it by the end of that video.
I have. It's DC. That means it's probably decent. I like it. But you kind of have to like Dr Pepper in order to like the strawberries and cream because you get a heavy Dr Pepper taste right off the bat, but the aftertaste is fantastic. I like it. It's better than the cream soda Dr Pepper, which I did not particularly care for. I was not a fan of that one, unfortunately. Of course, I got the good old standby. I like Coke. I've always liked just regular Coke. To me, is fine.
You got a Coke button on your desk like some other famous people?
No, unfortunately, I don't. Unfortunately,
Sad.
I do not.
Sad.
I don't have.
Sad.
I'm not Tony Montana.
That's exactly who I was talking about.
I know. Exactly. So, Chris, you're gonna love me again.
That's not sad. That's mad.
I gotta say that the PS2 Scarface game is actually pretty good. So,
I always heard good things about it. I heard it was like one of the best games of that generation for being like
fun.
based off a movie.
Yeah, there's very few movie games that translate well over into video games. So, and vice versa, obviously. So there's been a few. It's been a few good movies. The Super Mario Brothers movie, which is on pace to make like $1 billion.
Is it that good?
Oh, it's fantastic. If you liked Mario as a kid, you'll like this movie. My son likes Mario. I liked Mario. It was a good movie. It's definitely for everybody. The little Easter eggs that were in it were really cool. The Punch Out Easter egg, the Star Fox Easter eggs are really cool. I hope Nintendo makes a whole cinematic universe. I would definitely partake in said universe. So that's just me, though. What are you gonna do, right? So tonight's episode is living with death, and what I mean by that is the one thing that we all have in common. Everybody, young, old, black, white, Asian, no matter what you are, who you are, you're going to die. We all have to face it. It's an inevitability, until they put my brain in a robot body. But in reality, unless they figure out a way to reverse aging, which they're talking about being able to do by like 20, 30, some odd thing. If you breathe, or you die. If you don't, die. It is what it is. It's a lot of words, Beans. Air. If you breathe air, you die. If you don't, you die. It is what it is. Very philosophical for my man, Little Beans and Rice. Little Beans and Rice, big shout out to him, by the way. I was on their show last week, 3 Drink Minimum. We had a conversation about cryptids, and I can't wait. And we're going to have them on in a future episode of This Uncanny Earth. all 4 of us will be live on a Saturday. Unfortunately, that means probably Spider cannot make it. If he can, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a way around it. We always do. So join us for that. Probably talking about ghosts on that episode. So hope you guys are ready for that. It was a blast. We drank some drinks and we had some fun. So yeah, if you were on the other side of Ohio a bit back and you did breathe that air, you might not be here today. So East Palestine, man, big much love to all them going through that.
Yeah.
Time for you folks out there. There has been a kind of a destruction of food processing units, rivers, lakes, things associated with water systems and all that jazz. So whether it's a conspiracy or just happenstance,
I mean, they never did fix what was wrong in Flint, Michigan. Like it's still trash there.
Bad.
And if you were a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not that much, but if you were, you could say that was a test case to see how long people would put up with something like that. But I don't want to make anybody I don't want to make fun of anybody's situation because that's a trashy situation. Just like the train derailment, you don't hear about it much anymore now. Like it was big news for a couple weeks as usual, and now you don't hear anything. You got to dig for news, so it's kind of suspicious.
Yeah, well, that's because certain people are getting fired off of media outlets left and right, so that's bigger news than bigger news than chemical spills and like what was in the water was turning the water a rainbow color.
Yeah,
like it was it's like a form of paint thinner, and you can't get it out of the water. It's not something you could just drain out. Who needs clean, available public utility water when there's plenty of bottled water available to purchase? That's true.
And to tax.
And to tax. And to raise the price.
Tax. Yeah.
But if you're smart, you just filter your own rainwater. Which is
also illegal some places. Some places it is. It isn't here, but some places it is.
They'll do it anyways.
Yeah. Some places they're like, if they... Some ordinances, I don't remember what states there are, but they're like, oh yeah, it's illegal to do rainwater in this state, and there's really no reason for it. Like they've said, oh, because it could be dangerous and you might not be doing it. Yeah, Sarah B's, like in some places it is. In Ohio, it's not yet.
No, yet.
But some places it is.
And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so, or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, that's what's been going on in the world today. Bunch of craziness, but a bunch of historical things have been happening too. They've been finding all sorts of. They found a Roman city, a Nabatean complex was found in, I believe, Italy. So proof that civilization extended far beyond what we consider to be a boundary, if you will. Zach is here. What's up, Zach? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. I have been not good on the comment showing. Hey guys, hope you both having a great night. Ha ha ha. Collecting rainwater has been made illegal. Get water from a well. Heck with city water. I also get my water from a well. Who needs clean, available public utility water when there's plenty of bottled water available to purchase? If you're on the other side of Ohio a bit back, that was very true. Air. If you breathe or you die, if you don't, you die. It is what it is. Boo.
You're going to go through every single comment now?
I'm still on the Dr. Pepper cream soda mix. Oh, that's not good. I have. It's Dees. You are welcome. If I didn't enjoy, I wouldn't be here. Thank you, sir. I'm here on time. Howdy, y'all. I'm here just getting set up. Give me a sec.
I wonder who that was.
I'm here just setting up. Give me a sec. Live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This is an example. Click on the comment to show it on screen. Oh, here we go. I did that one. Those air some old messages. Potatoes. We time traveling backwards. And finally, Great Scott. All great comments. Some of the best.
I don't think I can go 88 miles per hour on this couch.
Nice. Tonight, we are discussing death. And I think that it's something that should be discussed. Not all the time, mind you, but I think it's something that needs to be brought up. However, I've got a little surprise. I've got a dad joke, and I don't know. I don't think she's coming yet, but um, Apple would be here normally. She might be doing something, but she sent me a hilarious dad joke that is sure to kill my co-host. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm gonna put a dad joke on his gravestone. He won't know he'll be dead, but still. What do you call people who don't like pickles? What do you call people who don't like pickles? Delusional. Delusional.
Nah,
Yes,
nah,
yes.
nah.
Vein Pain is here. Hey, buddy, what is going on? We are talking about death today here on This Uncanny Earth. You can find us everywhere on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Anchor, all your favorite places where podcasts are. We will also be next week. We will not be doing a show live on Friday. Oh, then I'm out. Well, if that is the case, I hope you have a good night regardless. Um, Next Friday, we will be having a pre recorded show. So if you come in comments and we don't respond, that is why. I don't want anybody to think that we're just ignoring you. We are not. So, anyways, but yeah, so we're talking about death. And I think the reason why we need to talk about it is because I don't think it's something you need to fear because it's an inevitability. An inevitability. Did I say that right?
Inevitability.
Inevitability. Inevitability. There it is. And I think that because a lot of cultures don't look at it the same way we do. And I think the reason we look at it like we do is because we live in a society that's hustle and bustle. It's work, 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 die. But other societies, they sort of venerate it. The Day of the Dead, for instance, where they believe there's a split second where they can cross over into our reality. Also, there's a couple different Asian beliefs that, excuse me, a certain day of the year they put out food and things like that, and the dead will come and eat, family members, stuff like that.
Mm.
It's like a way for them to come back and eat, which is a very interesting experience. I've experienced that once or twice myself, so it's pretty interesting. I think we live in a society where everybody's always trying to look more youthful. Everybody's doing what they can to look young and stop the aging process, but our cells are dying at a constant rate and we're not going to live forever. And I don't think I would want to live forever. I don't, I think it's kind of selfish to want to live forever, because the next generation has to come. It just, that's how it has to be, universal law and everything. And that has to be something that happens that I personally think is important. What do you think?
Well, it's a tough concept. It's we've briefly touched on stuff like this in the past about how it's basically a fear of the unknown because there's a couple of schools of thought. There's the pure atheist school of thought where it's you die, you're done, it's over.
Oh,
Which for
very
a lot
true.
of people is super frightening because they can't imagine, like your brain cannot imagine non-existence. It's just something that we can't fathom.
Right.
And then you have on the other side, you have the spiritual and the religious ideas, which generally are one of two things: either you leave this body and you go on to some kind of reward or punishment or whatever, or you start all over again and do the same thing. Um, which each of those can be kind of frightening because people there's a lot of people who are spiritual and religious who have this feeling of not being good enough. They feel like, you know what, I'm working towards, I've been promised this reward in paradise or heaven or Valhalla or wherever. But maybe what if I don't make it? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm failing? And they have this fear that they're going to go someplace else. And which is unfortunate because that's kind of like a human construct. That's something that we've used over the years to punish people into being better people by force. It's not like just try to be a good person, as opposed to if you're not a good person, you're going to burn forever. You're going to do this forever. You're going to do this forever. And it's something that we've really kind of beat into people's heads. And even the people who aren't religious kind of have that sense. And then with the reincarnation thing, a lot of people are scared of that because then they're like, well, what if I come back and I'm something worse? Or what if I come back and I'm not, like, what if I'm a rock? Or what if I'm an animal who can't think right? It's not going to be me. It's going to be something else. So there's a lot of fear, and that's really the root of it. There's a lot of fear about it. So nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to discuss it. Nobody wants to believe that it can happen because they're so afraid of what will or won't happen afterwards.
Right. When did you first learn about death? Do you remember how old you were? Do you remember what you were doing?
I have a few memories, some real vague memories of being really, really, really young, of a couple situations. Like, we've always had pets growing up, and we had rescued a turtle that had wandered into our yard once, just a little painted turtle, because in Pennsylvania where I grew up, they would come out from ponds and things, and sometimes they'd range pretty far. And it passed, and we buried it in a little spot out in the yard. While I was really young, I went to a couple of funerals, which at least one I didn't really understand because I was just too young and I didn't get it. And then one like hit me really hard, even though I wasn't even really close with the person. I had it was a great grandfather, and I didn't really know him. I don't have any memories of him, but I remember when I learned that he passed, I was so upset, and like I cried like a ton. Like, my folks couldn't understand it because like, you really didn't know him that well, but it was the first time I remember like being sad about a person. Um, and there was plenty of times after that where we lost pets and things like that. So I don't know how old I was at the time. I know I was pretty young. Um, I could probably check with family and find out when he passed to find out, because that's probably the earliest time I remember having a real reaction to it. But can't say for sure. But it's been being a person who's been around pets my whole life and relatively long-lived family members. I have been around people and animals passing for actually a long time. It's kind of been like intertwined, and that continues to this day because I still have pets here that they're getting old. I've lost a pet every couple of years for the last probably 10-12 years. It seems like, maybe not exactly that often because I haven't had quite that many pets, but I've lost a lot of pets. So.
And hello, Apple Tree Jamboree. Thank you for joining us. I told your joke, by the way. It went over great. James says, actually, speaking only for myself, while I do not want to die at this time, nor do I seek it, I do not fear it as much anymore. So, my earliest, I don't even remember this. I was young. I was young. I was probably going to be like 4 or 5. And I remember hearing about the concept, and like Spider, I cried buckets. I don't know why. There was no inherent reason, but it made me, incredibly sad. Like, I cried for a while. My parents had to console me. I was young. I didn't go to a funeral until I was 13, because my father, when he was young, they drug him to a funeral. My dad said, "I will never do that to you. I'll never make you see that." As a kid, and like I said, I've been to a couple of those. I've been to a couple funerals, but for me, like I think what sticks it for me, to be perfectly honest with a lot of you, is I have almost died. Like, I've been like on the precipice from an injury that I sustained back in '88. I was shot with a 12 gauge shotgun right to the right side of my body. Almost lost my leg. Went through crazy physical therapy to learn how to walk again. It was trauma. It was very bad at a very young age. I think I was 8 years old. I was very young. and I almost died. And I remember almost dying, like feeling that weird feeling in my body, like, is this it? Is, is am I done? Am I gone? Am I gonna go to wherever I'm supposed to go? And I don't remember being afraid. I don't remember anything, but just like sort of a a calm. The white light, I didn't necessarily see that. I think that was more of the of me going underneath the doors in the hospital to go to ICU, to go to surgery, to get surgically um fixed, so to speak. And I just remember a state of calmness. I don't remember anything being sad or anything horrible or anything crazy of that nature. But I do remember just this peace that wasn't I haven't felt anything like it since. It's definitely a different feeling. And I think being that at a young age and having that experience sort of shapes the outlook of a person, shapes the way you look at things, shapes the way you are. And like James said, I don't fear it as much, you know, and I'm more prone to run into risky situations because, I look at it like, what's the worst thing that could happen? But I don't do it recklessly. I don't live my life reckless anymore. And I have a better appreciation for life than I had previous than prior. And I think that that's important. I think that we all should have that sort of mentality of just being a better person. Not because, somebody in a pulpit tells you to be a better person, or not because this, that, and the third, but just because it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. And I think that more people should follow that. James says, my dad died when I was 12. My only brother passed away a little over a month ago. He was 54. Our condolences, my friend. We hope you're maintaining and doing well. Yes. Raise a glass. Or a can, in my instance. So, like I said, I think that these are conversations that we have to have. I don't think they're great conversations, but I think that as human beings and our inevitability, we will one day pass from this earth. I think it's interesting to look at life through that lens because we're not going to live forever. And I think that if we make the most with our family and our friends and our lives, I think that just sitting back and really understanding things and being very appreciative for what we have. We may not have the most, but we have this show. Me and my co-host here, we've been through some crazy times. We've been through some wild adventures, probably times when we should have expired like milk. But by the grace of God, we're still here and we're still doing the show. And I think a lot of us don't. I think a lot of people don't appreciate life, and I think it's always something. Thank you. Seeing a lot of death. His teeth aren't as sharp as they look, as they once looked. Yeah, I don't. I think as you get older, it's just something we come to terms with, and we strive to be better. I don't think you should be afraid of it. I think it should make you want to enjoy life more. I think it should give you that better respect for the life that we all have to live. And I think the more we fight against it, the more we waste time worrying about it instead of sitting back and thinking to ourselves, you know what, I'm still here. There's still another a day for betterment. There's still another day for positivity, for growth, for becoming better people as a whole. And to me, that's important. And we look forward to the things we have coming up. Like I have multiple presentations in next month, you know, multiple presentations. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the life that I've lived up to this point. And we've all lived a life. I mean, unless you're like a child, but if you're not, then you lived a life. We've all lived one. We all have to keep living one. And I think it's in our best interest and the people around us to keep living. I don't think we should be saddened about it. I think that, my grandfather passed when this was back in 2019, like 2019, right? And Yeah, it sucked. That it wasn't. It sucked what he passed from. It wasn't good. But he was older. He was an old man. He got to live a pretty good life. If only I can be that blessed to live that long and to be able to see my family succeed. I think that's the one thing we all want, is just to see that succession. So I just think taking every day and making it better is the way to do things.
Um, I'll tell you, there's been a lot of times where once you've been through enough stuff, you're kind of like, you know what? Whatever. I mean, this could happen or this won't happen. Like, if I sat around and fussed over every single time when I should have just been, pushed on to the next wherever we go, I'd probably go nuts or never leave the house or just live. I'd be bubble boy, basically, because
Right.
I've been in 4 car accidents.
Oof.
2 of them could have been extremely bad. One of them could have been worse, and one of them was just not that bad, but still, 4 car accidents. Um, I've been almost struck by lightning, like super close. It hit the tree right next to me, like boom,
Jeez.
like a few feet. And I know people survive that, but a lot of times you don't. My biggest thing was when I was in my late teens into early 20s, I took too many drugs, no other way to say it, and I overdosed at least once.
Oh.
That should have been it. It was a wake up. It was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, and it's helped me, better myself since that time. I haven't had a problem with that since then because I know I can recognize and I can be like, hey, you know what? Um, I've had my head cracked open. I have a big scar over here that you can't really see unless you look right at it, but it's a big white scar in the skin where they had to stitch up. The skull was broken. That was when I was a kid. That was when I was like 4, actually. And that's the kind of thing that as a kid, your skull is softer and things like that. It probably explains some things about why I am the way I am now, if you want to take that as a joke. But, there's so many things, and I could keep going all the times when it could have been worse and it wasn't. But, whatever. What are you going to do about it? It happened. It's over. You survive. What are you going to do? You going to keep worrying about it? No. I mean, what good does that do you? Because then, you know, anything can happen to a person. And I don't want to get into a list and frighten people. Like, I don't want to say, oh, look at all the things in your own kitchen that could cause your
No,
demise, because
this
then
this
people are going to be like, oh, no. But,
this isn't an episode to scare people. I think it's an
right.
episode to open up some good conversation about something that we don't really talk much about. We don't really
Mhm.
face it. And I think that by facing it and looking dead in its eyes and saying, one day I know what'll happen. Until then, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep working as much as I could. You know.
Yeah, she's got the joke. Or he's got the joke. Sorry. He's got the
Oh,
joke. Um,
did you just misgender him?
well, because I keep seeing Sarah Bees and I keep
Wow.
thinking like Sarah in my head.
Yes.
I'm old. I'm traditional. I see things and I'm kind of like, I know you're dude. Sorry. Um, but I think the worst one for me, really, that didn't involve me was my grandfather, which I believe was in 2006, maybe. I've got his picture up there with the newspaper clipping of the obituary, and I could get up and check, but I'm not gonna. But it's right there. It's on the wall. And I was working in healthcare at the time. I did like I cleaned the floors and did like stripping and waxing and that kind of stuff.
You should just left
Um,
that up to guessing. You could have just been like, so I
I
was in
did
healthcare.
stripping. No,
I,
no.
I was a doctor at the time. No big
Yeah.
deal. It's doing.
But I was passing through the ER. It was a slow night. I don't remember what I was supposed to be doing. I was following up on something. And I got a call because my uncle works in healthcare too. He was like a nursing supervisor or something like that. My uncle was in it. My dad, my mom used to be, isn't anymore. Too much information, doesn't matter. Um, So I got a call from my uncle because he was working that night too, and he said, "Hey, we're trying to get a hold of your dad, but he's not answering the phone." Which sometimes happened because he spends so much time at work in the hospital that when he gets home, he's kind of like, "Just leave me alone. I just want time to myself."
Makes sense. You're a lot of you're around a lot of,
Yeah.
you know,
But he was like,
exactly.
"We got to get a hold of him." And I was like, "Well, I can try, the cell phone. I have my phone. I can try the personal lines and things if the public line isn't going to work." And my uncle was like, "Well, let me come down and talk to you about it because this is going to concern you too." And I was just like, "Uh-oh, what's going on? Is somebody in trouble? What happened?" And it ended up that my grandfather had been driving a bunch of people out on a work trip because he worked in missionary work, domestic stuff. Like they would go around to different states and towns and things, and they would help people build worship centers or food pantries or things like that. He worked every single day of his life because he liked to. You couldn't find him not doing something because he would go nuts. Um, so he comes down. He says he was on this trip and he didn't feel good. They pulled over, and then he had a coronary, and that was it. Done. Boom. A few seconds. Gone. And so I had to call my parents and tell them what happened because I was the only person who could get in touch with them, which is pretty rough because I have to tell my dad that his dad passed. And I got my mom first. Like I called her and she was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "We've been trying to get a hold of dad. Like, where is he?" She's like, "He's in the bathroom," which clearly that's why I wasn't answering the phone. And I had to tell her, I'm like, "Grandpa passed." And she didn't believe it. She was like, "You got to be kidding." I'm like, "No, we got to tell dad." So I couldn't even finish my work shift. Like, it was rough. It was rough. And I think I took another day or so off because it was hard to be in that situation. But it was inspiring too because my grandfather knew so many people.
Now, I like this story. You've told it to
Like,
me a few times, and
he
I
knew
enjoy this
so
story.
many people that for the funeral at the church, it's a little church at the end of where my parents live. It's at the end of the road there. There's a little church there. It seems like a big enough space at the time, but man, there were people lined up out the sidewalk, all outside the church grounds that couldn't get in because there were so many people. So this is a guy who throughout his life he like touched the lives of so many people. And it put it into perspective. Yeah, it was a sad day. It had its rough moments. I was the oldest grandchild or the oldest grandson, really. I was the oldest of the male grandkids, so I was helping be one of the pallbearers. It was heavy because coffins are heavy,
Yeah.
and I was so afraid I was going to drop it. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't. But because I wasn't the world's strongest guy. I'm still not. But you know, but yeah, it was at least it was still inspiring to see the difference he had made in so many other people's lives, which is kind of how I look at things. It's less how do I feel about myself passing if I'm in that situation, and more have I don't like mean have I made a legacy for myself, some stupid like buzzword like that, but will there be people who are better people because I was there? And maybe there are, maybe there aren't, but at least I have people that I've seen that have passed on that I've seen that effect on. And so I can do my best. And that's all anybody else can do. They can just do their best, really.
I mean, we've all touched people's lives, for the bad and the good,
Mhm.
obviously. Um, Me and you, we've been friends for a long time at this point, like almost 10, 15 years. I don't know. It's been a really long time. But, and I mean, I feel that. I think for me, it was, I don't, I'm not a person who gets emotional at funerals. I think there's only been one, and that was my grandmother's. I was 17. I was at home. My parents went to see her in the hospital, and I wasn't one to go visit people. Well, there's two actually. I wasn't one to go visit people in the hospital back then. I just I don't like seeing people in that state. I don't want that to be my last memory of a person. And I remember going to see her, or I remember my mom coming home and telling that she's passed. And this is a woman I have fond memories of. Anybody that knows me knows that I've talked about my grandmother in multiple ways, multiple times throughout my life. Big influence. Helped me read, like helped me learn how to read. Would get books from the library all the time. And I remember going to her funeral, and there was like yours. There was quite a few people. The whole church.
Mhm.
People came up from West Virginia, where she was born. The whole family. And I was 17, so we're talking some years ago. We were talking some years ago, and I remember the day of that was the first day I started drinking coffee. I never drank coffee before in my life. That day was the first day I drank coffee. I remember it clear as day because I had a cup
Something
with
about
vanilla
funerals
creamer.
and like
Yeah.
hospitals and medical stuff. Because then we had that coffee when your son was born.
It was the
It
worst
was
coffee I've
terrible.
ever had in my life. It was the worst. It's like they let it sit out for like 6 months to
Mm.
a year. But yeah, and I remember just the people. I remember the people and the food because they had a big old banquet for. And like I said, I was 17 at the time. I
Mm.
was almost a man. Was almost a legal adult at that time. And I remember just being really sad. This is the person that touched my life. And I see people that still have theirs, still have their grandparents, and it just because I don't have anymore. Like all of my grandfathers, my grandmothers, they're all gone. My first one passed when I was 8, second one when I was 17, third one when I was 20. No, 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 no. Let's see, 4 years ago. So roughly about 40, 39, 40, and then just this year, my
Yeah.
my final grandfather had passed just this year. So
Mhm.
I don't have any grandparents. Mine are gone. And it's something about when because we are on the cusp of the old ways and the new ways. We're sandwiched right there as like that bridge between the two. So, because we're right there, especially the folks that are born from like 75 to like 84 or whatever it is. They're like it's like a small segmented group. They have a name for them. I think the name's stupid, so I'm not going to say it. But it's very interesting because we live in a different dichotomy than like the late Gen Xers do and the millennials do. We're
Mm.
that little bridge there. We are old enough to remember when there was black and white TVs, or young enough to remember black and white TVs, and old enough to remember social media. So it's a different
Mm.
dichotomy. And so when you see the old ways sort of die in a way to pave way for the new ways, it's a weird thing. It's definitely different. um
Mm.
and I like going to cemeteries. I like seeing the gravestones. I like seeing when people lived. I love researching my family tree, seeing how my people lived in their day. And it's so weird to me. And different people celebrate the dead differently. Like Serby said, he's not a fan of viewings. I'm not either because I don't look at that person as being in that location anymore. The body's basically a shell. They're not there. And I've been to let's see, one, two. I think. Well, we went to our buddy's dad's funeral,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
and I and I and I tell you, I never get used to seeing a person in a casket. Never. It's something I can't get used to. It's weird. It's a very odd feeling, because it almost looks like they're made of clay in a roundabout way, and I have had some family members that have left this earth in not good terms. I'll just leave it at that. And I've had family members that have went out natural causes, you know, so it's definitely different. And like I said, I don't think it's not something to be depressed about. It's not something that we have to dwell on. We don't have to get up in the morning and be like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And then you just keep dwelling on it. No. I think it's something we can look dead in the face and say, well, one day I know you're coming. I can't avoid it. I'm going to do everything possible that I've wanted to do with my life, and I'm going to impact people's lives. I'm going to be a better person. Because, like me and Spider said, there's been times I've been in a few car accidents my darn self.
Hmm.
No, I was going, forget where I was going to, but I was getting on the expressway in the middle of winter and it was an ice storm. I was going a little too fast, took a turn. I did 360s and slammed into a ditch. I could literally have just flipped the car,
Hmm.
but I didn't. There's been other instances where all it took, little bit of going one way or the other, but grace of God, I'm still here. And it I think it makes us better people to not dwell on it so much, but to accept it, to accept that at one point this is going to happen. And I think we as people, as human beings, we have, I think that we have a better purpose after this, whether, however you believe, if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe in afterlife, even if you believe in absolutely nothing, I think that we keep expanding because energy doesn't die. It just continues on in whatever form is next.
Even if you're 100% like atheist, like there's absolutely nothing, you as an organism could still theoretically bring life to other things.
Yes.
You could still cause other plants to grow from your remains, like insects, whatnot, all that kind of stuff, because your body's going to break down. I mean, we have this thing about coffins and about all this kind of stuff, and I get it and I understand it, but I almost feel like you should, you know, make it a little more natural, you know?
Yeah, I think it's very the way we go about that sort of thing, I think is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. I
Mm.
think making these big ornate caskets, the tombstones are cool. I like that
Yeah.
there's I always think that is because that's why I like going to cemeteries and visiting the graves. Some people will go there and put little flags on there. Sherry Brake does this. She'll go
Mm.
to different tombstones and put little flags on them just for remembrance because everybody wants to be remembered, and I do that. I like going to those gravestones and just walking past them, letting those people know that, yes, I am acknowledging that you were once a person, that you once lived, and but you don't know, but they
Mm.
might have been some horrible people. But I think honoring the memory isn't a bad thing, and I think that we have to. I think that our. I think it's a good thing for generations to go and clean off tombstones, pick up branches, kind of clean the area up, and just sort of pay respect. For the most part, I believe
Mm.
that you pay respect to those who've passed. Unless they're just horrible people, like Hitler or something like that, then whatever. Then you dig them up and pee on them. That's not the point of the conversation, though.
Even then, like if you bury them right, they're going to end up nourishing the soil. They're going to move on
Yeah,
to something else. Even if you cremate them, even if you do
yeah.
that, that's still ash is good for the soil, you
I
know?
always like the notion of a Viking funeral.
Mm. Mhm.
Burn the body or shoot arrows at me. It's perfectly fine. Um,
And a weird bit of synchronicity. Before I knew what the topic was today, the shirt that I picked is my Viking funeral shirt, where on the back it has the little invocation that at the end of my life, may the Valkyries judge my deeds worthy and carry me home. So interesting.
hopefully don't weigh your heart though. You might be in a pickle.
Well, I've done some things.
Then you'll be
I've done some
delusional.
things, but you know, I think I'm all right. I mean,
I
I
don't.
can't say that, you know,
I don't think you're all right at all.
you're not the first and you will not be the last.
But my opinion matters. So, bang bang. And I agree. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. I know that I'm not the worst. Like I literally know that I'm not the worst. History has proven that I am not the worst. So I have that going for me, right? But I agree. And I think that the peace of mind that comes with, one day. And I think that's all we can say is just one day. But I think until that day, until the day that we are no longer here on this earth, you live like it's your last day. You go out and do the things you've always wanted to do. I think that's a good thing. I think that having that mentality is good. I think it's a healthy mentality. Should you
There's
dwell on it? No, you should never dwell on it. Never dwell on things.
there's a quote that I like to say that I've posted it every so often on Facebook because it's a good one. It's an old mantra kind of where it says, "When you were born, you cried, but the world rejoiced because you were new. So when you pass, you rejoice, and the world will cry."
It's true. That's true. So yeah, and I think that the way society runs, we we don't take time to enjoy the things. It's just a consistent work, 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 busy, fast paced, fast paced. There's a reason our ancestors, while they may not have lived long lives, a lot of them lived meaningful lives. That doesn't always necessarily mean happy, but meaningful. Their lives had meaning to them. Yeah, they worked, but they provided for their family. They worked for themselves. And I think there's honor in that. I think there's an honor in that old way that we talked about that no longer exists on a large scale like it used to. I think there's honor in that. I think there's honor in providing, in having that sort of fulfillment of life, of working, and with the sweat of your brow, being able to pull from the earth, being able to, I went to Tennessee once. This was years ago, and I went to a log cabin. The guy built it by hand, the shingles by hand, roofing shingles. Anybody that's ever seen roofing shingles, that's not easy. You can't just be just building roofing shingles.
Slap them down, it's a good job.
Slapping down, good job. A little bit of
you-
glue, a little bit of duct tape. A little bit of duct tape. I don't think that works. Whatever. But the fact that somebody did that is fascinating and lived in it.
Mhm.
And those things, they weren't heat efficient. They weren't cool efficient. They kept you from the elements. And our ancestors were hard workers. But hard times make hard men,
Mhm. And there's a reason. There's two reasons, of course, but there's a reason why they had the Sabbath. I mean, one, yes, was so you could go to church in the morning and you could, keep it holy and things like that. But the other one, they said no working on the Sabbath because
Yes.
they knew you had to have that day. You had to have that day not to work because if you
Yes.
just worked with work, you might not only work yourself to death, but you drift away from your religious thoughts, you drift away from other things, and you might drift away from family because you're too busy working all the time.
Yes.
So there were a lot of practical reasons why you didn't work on the Sabbath day, whether it was Sunday or whatever day of the week it was. They knew you needed a day off.
Yes. And we don't. They're called shakes down here. I have the tool to make the shingles. It's called a fro. That's interesting. Because like the guy made everything from hand. And it's a lost art because I don't know anybody that's building their own houses.
You used to be able to order those house kits from Sears.
So,
whole house. You could get the catalog and you could get the whole house and just build it.
Check out what I have. I have the 1902 edition of the Sears Roebuck catalog.
They're in there. There's probably some guns in there too.
There's all sorts of things. Here's some fireproof safes for y'all.
Yep.
For your belongings.
You buy your house from Sears and then you outfit it with your safe and your guns and all your tools.
Here's Sears Roebuck Company right there. I love these old things. Let me pull up one more for you guys. See what we got.
It's such a difference seeing that to what it was at the end when we were there.
So curtain poles, for instance, the wood trimmed curtain pole, finished in California walnut, mahogany, oak, and ebony, is for 9 feet was 40 cents. 40 cents for 9 feet.
Shop your way.
Here's some ladies' jackets and automobiles. So here's some ladies' jackets for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Well, gals, I should say, gals. For the discerning gentleman. Let me see what else. Let's see. We go. We'll take one more. Let's see. Oh, we got spoons. We got studs and collar buttons. Here's a watch. Check it out. Here's some watches, some pocket watches. Mm-hmm. There you go. Some pocket watches for your $275 for that slick pocket watch right there. I think that's the pocket watch case. No, it's a Kuhn metal watch, a bargain at $2.75. So 50 cents. I got this at a book thrift store for $9, and I love it. I've been like,
worth
I like
every
to look penny.
Through.
Yeah, 100%.
Worth every shop your waypoint.
Yeah, like I like Shopway rewards are not in there.
Yeah, I wonder why. Thing.
We worked there, so I had to have that. I had to snag that up, and I had to. My great uncle. Oh, I got to put that up.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
Oops.
My great uncle had a 10-room Sears house. 10 rooms.
Some of those houses are still up. Like they didn't make them like just because they came in a kit from like the catalog doesn't mean that they were bad, cheap. No. Like bad houses, you put them up, you did the work. As long as you did the work right.
I wonder if the houses are in this book. This became a show about death, and now it's turned into Sears Robux.
Well, I mean, Sears is dead right now, so you know.
I don't even know if it actually exists anymore. To be honest.
Sears Parts Direct still exists because they still have advertisements on Facebook, but they were their own company anyway. They were just, contracted to Sears, so I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know why they still carry the name. Why would they bother?
You can get a professional guitar for $11.45 if you are so inclined. Books on hypnotism, palmistry. Wow. 65 cents for a book about palmistry.
Because it was popular at the time.
Yeah, this we're talking. We are talking spiritualism era right here. We're talking Americana. Don't forget, I believe 1893, I think, was the World's Fair in Chicago. So the Columbian exhibit or the Columbian World's Fair. You have now don't have your children in the room when I show you these, but look at those.
That's scandalous. That's some scandal.
We're definitely gonna get canceled. They're gonna cancel us for showing the ladies' thigh highs. If your gloves, shoes, all these ladies in here in their dresses and the discerning young gentlemen. Here we go. Wait, let me see. Furnace department, house furnaces, $47. 47.
I'll take one right now. $47 for a new furnace.
Well, it's an Acme coal furnace.
Hey,
there you go. There it is. That's for you, house furnace.
I'll do that.
Maybe it'll burn blue anthracite, which I think was a coal substitute.
Maybe.
Very interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I like the past and I like the future. I like them both. I like seeing where we come from and hopefully. We get our heads out of our proverbial rear ends, if you will. I like to see where we're going. I would like to see not the destruction of our civilization, which seems to be on a fast track to that, but an advancement. I would love to see biomedical engineering take us to a point to where we don't have diseases, where we don't have child mortality rates, where we have people with disabilities able to live more capable lives, not having to depend on a wheelchair or a crutch, being able to walk or run or lift stuff. And the technology is there. It really is there. The advancements in nanotechnology alone are staggering compared for what we were once at to where we are now is very interesting. And I suggest all of you look into the biomedical engineering that they're doing. I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, it's the mark of the beast. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's not even what that means. You gotta actually read what you're trying to say. Don't just automatically assume that it's just the mark of the beast because you want to get, a new leg, that's actually beneficial and not a piece of plastic, something that actually mimics a real leg, connects to the nervous system, You know, you don't.
Some of the stuff these days, like some of
Yes,
the new arms and stuff with
yes,
the finger motion, it's
yes.
it's amazing.
They
It is real incredible.
the guy that I think it was the girl from Deus Ex. They did like a little thing with the girl from Deus Ex and got her like this, and the arm like it was all black, and like she could move the fingers, she could pick stuff up. The one
Hmm.
guy, they did one guy, he had to charge his a lot, but I mean, these are prototypes. You know, once I think they get all the kinks worked out and everything fixed, I would love to see a future where people with disabilities can do the same things people that don't have disabilities can do. You know, I would love to see that. I would love to see them being able to go in and genetically uh genetically engineer cancers, just eradicate them, period, in children and people, especially in children. You know, I would love to see those advancements. I'd love to see us have a healthier way of life, and not eugenics, by the way. That there's a difference. Eugenics is eradication. What I would like to see is just our ability to heal. And if we are going to live forever, or if we're going to extend our lifespan, then maybe we can extend our reach beyond what we live here and move out further. Like I said, I don't think that we have to be afraid of death, and I think it's something we should respect. I think it's something that we all have to deal with. We have to deal with our own mortality at some point, some fashion. But I think as long as we are working towards being better people or striving to become better at something, whatever it is, I think you're living a meaningful life. I really do. So that's about all I got to say about that, Lieutenant Diane.
Danga danga dongo, I don't want to leave the pongo. No, no,
Oh
no,
no
no,
no no
no.
no.
I got
So
all those
yeah,
words wrong.
the whole song, you didn't get any of that song right at all. None of it. Danny Kaye is going to show up with the Andrews sisters and beat you up,
Dang. Yeah.
and he's dead. So that should tell
It
you a
would fit
lot.
the theme of the show there, see? Tying it back in.
Yikes, that's canceled.
Slightly offensive.
I'm just going to read my Sears robot catalog in peace while they cancels. Anyways, guys, yeah, like I said, next week there will not be a live show on Friday, but feel free to tune in. We'll be talking about we'll be getting into that. We'll surprise you guys with something cool, like we always do. We'll be recording that probably Wednesday night. And you're right, never happened too much to be made on sickness and death.
We know that pretty well. If the last few years have told us anything,
Ooh, don't do it.
That's the most I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, the guy looks
but
like.
But if you know, you know.
I mean, we have a zombie in there now, so.
If you know, you know. Chocolate chip.
Half past dead.
All right.
That's what we're not gonna go on to it. But yeah, like I said, we'll have something good for you guys that week, and then the week after that, I will be presenting in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Feel free to come out, Fayette County. I forget the name of that city, but it's about a 2.5 hour drive. It's quite a drive, actually. Come out, come see me. I'll be presenting there, and then on the 20th, I will be in Butler County for the Butler County Paranormal Conference. I'm excited. Like the Alien Bigfoot paranormal shows better, though. Okay. Thank you for the honest feedback. We appreciate it. Yeah, we would definitely. I just feel like this is something that that we haven't done, and I felt like it was a good topic for a show. Like I said, having almost died as a younger child, I feel like it was appropriate for myself because I've been, you got to deal with that. Fayette County, the Bigfoot Symposium. It is. I'm trying to think of the name of the Morrill County, the Morrill Fire Department. But yeah, that will be on the 13th. Let me check my calendar. I know it's on a Saturday. The
13th or 14th, something 13th,
like that. 13th there, because Fayette County is like, I didn't know this, but Fayette County is right next to basically West Virginia. Like, it's on that border. Les Odell showed up at the last one I was at there, and he was probably like, he goes, what did he say? He said, yeah, it's like 10 minutes up that way. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, because I don't know where I'm at in Pennsylvania. It's a long state. So I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't even know where I'm at in Ohio half the time, let alone a whole ass other state. So
Whose house is this? I have no idea.
Oh, get off my lawn. I'm not even on my lawn. I'm on somebody else's lawn. I better get off their lawn. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, that's it. You don't have to go home. So you can't stay here, or however. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. Whatever it's saying. What was
Instrumental
that?
version. Yeah, it's the
Oh,
karaoke version that doesn't exactly sound like the real version, but they had to,
was that the Muzak version?
yeah, because that's karaoke.
No, it isn't. That's Muzak.
Sometimes.
No, it's never karaoke because you sing karaoke.
Well, some karaoke they're allowed to use the original instrumental, and some they're not. So they have to fudge it a little bit. You ever been to like karaoke, like in like a dive bar somewhere?
I've done karaoke in dive bars.
Yeah, see. Now,
I
if you go
want.
to Japan, you're going to get the high quality every time because karaoke in Japan is top shelf all the time.
Listen, I once did a Linkin Park song and didn't know half the words, but whatever.
That's why you read the screen and try to fake it.
Was a wrap for that. All right,
No,
so
you probably
anyways,
just went into it like, just like that.
I didn't do that.
I bet you did. Like that exact
No,
motion.
I did not. All right, we're gonna remove him from the show because I think it's time. Anyways, guys, love you guys. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, why be boring when you can be uncanny? We will see you folks next week. Peace. Probably talk about some UFOs and some UFO cases. That's just for you, James. We got something for you for next week. Anyways, guys, God bless. See you later. Peace. I'm ending the broadcast, so just a second. Sorry.
Push the button, Frank.